Hello, 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 everyone out there. Happy Saturday to a lot of you. Welcome, greetings. Hello, Browning I Farms, Mitch. Hello, hello, hello. Greetings, gratitude. We're going to have an interesting topic today. We're going to talk about astrology. We're going to go deeper into it. Now that we've had all these lectures that dropped over there in our community, I can go into more details and maybe this will help some people in our community as well. Hello, hello, user 696. Shay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Greetings and gratitude to everyone. Today we're going to be talking about astrology and hoodoo. For those of you that have an almanac, you're probably going to enjoy this discussion today. If you, hi Shay, uh, you're probably going to understand a lot more about your almanac or learn to use your almanac even better when we start breaking this down. And maybe this will add some clarity to the people that's already over there on our platform that read the books or whatever, or listened to the lecture, and you want me to fill in some blanks. This will be a good discussion for you. And we're going to be talking about astrology. How do we use it in hoodoo? It's not required, but I've seen people use in hoodoo when lining up their work to get to increase its chances of success. It's not required. Hello, June, for you too. Welcome, 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 TikTok family. Welcome, 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 YouTube family. Welcome, everyone. This is going to be a very interesting discussion. If you're interested in astrology and knowing how to use it in your workings, hello, advocate for by. Hello, 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 welcome. Uh, Astrology has always been a part of the folk magic tradition, even if it's not always spoken about directly. Root workers and conjurers, they use the almanac. Okay, not just for moon phases and planetary timing. It that does add strength to the workings. Okay, using the moon phases and the planetary timing, because when you first get over there in our, I have to rephrase this again and talk about this differently. When you first get over there in our community, the first thing we do is start lining you, getting you in alignment uh, with noticing the moon and all the energies that the moon can help you with in your workings. Um, and then we get you into working with the planetary energies by getting you familiar with some of the angels that's associated with the planets. Okay, it's one thing we get you started off with. Now we just covered lectures in our community that offers detailed breakdown of astrological aspects and conjunctions, semi-sextiles, squares, trines, oppositions, and quincunxes, how they influence magical outcomes. Now, when you start applying this to your conjure work, it helps to refine the timing and attention. Because if you're telling me, and that's one of the things I'll ask too, if you say, "Hey, I did this working, I want to know the time, uh, what time you did it, what energies did you line it up with?" All of that is important uh, when you're doing your workings. It has to make sense, and the energy, the natural energies should be there for you to do the workings. That's very important. Is it the right day? Some people go by the days. We'll go into that in a minute. Now, when you start using the conjunctions and you start using the sextiles, when you start using those, because it's going to tell you that in your almanac. That's why our ancestors was looking at that. When you start looking at the conjunctions and the oppositions and the way the planets are set up, you can use those aspects right there to put a little oomph to your magic. Okay? Because the aspects act as energetic highways. Some are smooth and supportive, and others are tense and challenging. Okay. And when you start looking at these aspects, you can use this to decide what type of spell, ritual, or petition it's going to have. Again, choosing your spell lined up with this is going to let you know whether you'll have the best success in your workings. Okay. When you know when a conjunction is going on uh, in the celestials, when you know that there's some opposition going on, and this is I use this same method when I'm breaking down your natal chart and providing you with workings to do. Okay, so if I see any of this in your natal chart while I'm reading it and breaking it down for you, I'm going to provide you with root works and spells are going to be that's going to work for you. That's more likely to work for you. Let me say it like that. Hello, Tanya. Hello, Shay. Okay, so let's look at the conjunction. The first thing we're gonna look at is the conjunction. What would we use if you look at your almanac? Because it will tell you if you have your almanac, you don't have to figure any of this stuff out. I had to break this down in the lecture because I know it can be overwhelming. Hello, Tina. I know it can be overwhelming, and so I had to break this down in the lecture, and I had to take our community to an almanac and show them in the almanac. You don't have to figure this out. This is already in the almanac. This stuff is already in the almanac, so you don't have to worry about figuring it out. Okay. So if you have a conjunction, a powerful merging, this is a powerful merging of energy. This is excellent for major works like starting money drawing, a series of candles, or launching, long time protection spells. Um, And again, you have these planets combining forces. That is what a conjunction is. And so when you start again drawing on those energies and then using them in your workings, it is powerful. Okay, I've seen people do it, and they're very, successful. They know how to use that almanac. They know when the best time to do a workings for the best likely income. All of this matters. Okay, so that's how you can use that. We're gonna go even further with this. Now, with the semi-sextiles at a 30-degree angle, a subtle but helpful connection, you may use this for small workings that require persistence. Okay, like steady job success or building savings. It's not flashy, but it helps to create momentum. So knowing these energies and knowing what's play as above, so below, you can use this in your workings to move your workings along. This is just an option. It's not necessary, but I've seen people that use it and they have gotten good results with it. Okay, and then you have, and I so go back again. You have some workers that just use the days. They'll just use they'll do certain work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or they just work with different planets, energies of the planet, a little planetary magic thrown in there. Okay. Again, when you know about these natural energies and know how they affect your work, because you're already working with the moon, some of you should be. If you're not in Hoodoo, you're in Hoodoo. We work with a lot with the moon, and so you already work with the moon. So getting yourself familiar with these energies is only going to enhance your work. Now, when we look at the square is about tension and conflict. This is good for domination work, breakup work, hot foot rituals, anything that brings friction that's going to break up something. The squares are going to be good for that. Again, you don't have to remember. I think the most important thing to remember is what the aspects stand for, the way I'm talking about it now. You don't have to remember this, but you definitely need to know what a conjunction does, what a semi-sextile does, what a square does. When you're looking at that almanac, if you can remember those things there, that's going to line your work up really good, give you another option in lining up your work. and what energies to use. I hope I am not losing anyone. I know this can be um, a little complex when we get into astrology because there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moving parts in astrology. So I know, hi Nova. I know it could be like, what are you saying? Get your almanac. Okay. That's the best way to do it. And then know, again, know what a conjunction means. A conjunction is powerful merging energy. That's when the planets combine. Okay. A semisextile is subtle energy. Okay. You can do this in small workings, little small workings, little jar workings, and things like that. That's what I would use it for. Or you can use a square when you're trying to break up something, when you're trying to create some friction. Okay. Good for that. Now let's jump into our train. Train is about harmony and flow. This is perfect for any type of sweet work, love drawing, court case help, or blessing. Okay. You can use it in relationships. This again, train represents easy path. Okay. And it helps your energy to manifest a lot easier working with the train. So if I was going to work with anything, it would be the train and the conjunction. Those things that you really want to work with. You look in your almanac, it's going to tell you what's going on. Exactly. That's why I said that almanac it's got hoodoo in it. Cause you start looking at that and you be like, oh my gosh, this stuff got magic all in it. Okay. So make sure that you're looking at your almanac. You don't have to remember this and you don't have to be overwhelmed by the astrology. Almanac has already broke that down for you. Now, oppositions. These are two forces that's pulling apart. Oppositions can highlight obstacles, but they can carry clarity as well. That's a good time to do any uncrossing, any reversing, and sending any energy back to its source. If there are anything in oppositions, you have some planets in opposition to each other, depending on what you trying to do. What's in opposition of each other? I hope this is giving some people clarity on their work and many ideas on how to use astrology in their workings. Everyone is different. This is just an option that we cover over there uh, in our Hoodoo community, giving you plenty of options on how to get your work done. It gets more interesting as we go on over there. Okay. So again, that's good for uncrossing times, reversing work, or sending any energy back, return to sender work. Then you have the quinces. This is about adjustment and imbalance. This is good for shadow work. This is good for healing work and to work with your ancestors. A lot of transformation work, character work. This is about realignment. Okay, any cleansing or anything like that that needs to go on, purification, this is a good time to be doing. You use the Farmer's Almanac. Yep, the Farmer's Almanac, Nova. But you know what? We were just talking about that in our hoodoo community over there. You know, they sell magical almanacs, though. They sell hoodoo almanacs. Yeah. You got people that specifically sell magical almanacs with you know, yeah, they have those out there. So you probably want to look at that too, because that's another option. I want one. They're out there, so you could just do a research on there out there. But there's people that sell almanacs that's based on the best time to do magical workings with astrology. Okay, that's why we're talking about that. And again, you have a variety of practitioners that use this sort of magic in their workings. Okay, but it's easier before you even jump into this and using it this way. I'm going to say this: it's easier when you already have your ritual set up with some of these planetary energies. And so in our community, that's the first thing I get you started off on is trying to work with these planetary energies. If you're a certain zodiac sign or whatever, I'll try to get you to work with that planetary energy and get you used to doing those rituals, because this consistency is everything when you are trying to do your magic, when it comes to ritual and building up your ashe. Consistency is everything. I do usually do weekly, like Jupiter on Thursday for money. I know that's right, Nova. That's right. And so you have some people just like Nova, she worked with Jupiter on Thursday. Now we'll go even further with that because we'll talk about, hey, don't just work with Jupiter. Let's work with the Archangel Zachiel or Sachiel. Let's connect with him. So we get you, again, seeing if you can work with these energies. Now it is true, and I tell a lot of people over there, um, you might get with one angel and they don't want to, your vibrations, sometimes vibrations just don't match. You see that with people. You just, not that they're, you know, bad or anything. Y'all just on two different frequencies. Okay. And with the angels, you'll start working with them, and some of their frequencies are so high, and you can't get your frequency up there. So you might have to work with another angel. But what happens is you start working with these certain angels and you find out they can have other attributes. That's what happened to one of our practitioners over there. She started working with one angel. He was helping her with this. And he said, hey, I can help you with this too. And so he's been helping her with other things as well. So just don't think that they're limited to the function that we read about, because those are just small attributes that they have. But when you start to work with them even closer and you start to vibe with them and they trust you or whatever, again, they're going to share more information with you. Okay, they'll give you more creative ideas on how to work with them. That's usually how this energy works. When you're working with these sort of energies, it's going to have an impact on you intellectually, because this is how spirits communicate with us. It's through our intelligence. You hear people say, oh, I got downloads. Yeah. Okay. Because when you open yourself up to these higher intelligences, again, knowledge begins to flow to you. This is how these energies speak to us. Remember, everything is consciousness. Everything is consciousness. Now we break this down even further when we talk about spiritual communication. Um, yeah, when we talk about spiritual communication, to help you understand that you will see a shift in your consciousness when you start working with certain spirits or when you start working with different angels. But I always recommend angels because they accelerate your healing process and your learning process. You'll automatically start getting these streams of inspiration and information. You'll start asking these questions, and they'll start the answers start popping in your mind. That's how angels work. Or sometimes you can just feel them. Some people are just clairsentients, and they can feel the presence of the angel. But most time, if you're going to be working with the angel, you need to go there with a pen and pencil, because you about to get so many downloads, so much information. Okay, or a tape recorder. Okay, that's usually how these energies are going to work. And I know Hollywood has showed you some spookism stuff. And none of that is true. That's not true. Okay, these energies are very subtle. Very rarely are you going to see something, that's just gonna just push you out the way or whatever. Rarely are you gonna see that they're very powerful, but they work on a subtle level. You start to see major shifts in your thinking, major shifts in your magic, major shifts in your reality. Well, I didn't know that. Thank you. You're welcome, Rashad. Okay. Now, timing is everything when you're doing your work. That matters, you guys. It really does. Planning and timing matters. That's why, in our community, I try to, if I'm telling you about a celestial change, such as a full moon or something like that, I try to give you at least a week in advance of letting you know so you can start planning your work. Your work needs to be planned, not just that spontaneous thing. I'm gonna do this. Hi, yeah, I was already said hi to Tina. So you can start planning your workings, getting your mind already ready for your workings. Start talking to your ancestors, doing a divination, and deciding on what you're gonna do when that full moon, new moon, whatever moon shows up. Okay. I try to give you, then I let you know what energies are coming in with that moon, so you can line your energy up. I go as so far if to go on to each zodiac sign, letting each zodiac sign know what work is recommended based on their zodiac sign. So I do recommendations that way as well. I give you the whole spiel there to help you get prepared for your work. And so I try to give you enough time to plan because that's important because you want to be in a relaxed state, a joyful, playful state when you begin your magic. You don't want to be running around trying to do this and that. You don't want to be stressed out before you even do your workings. It's just, you just crossing yourself up doing that. You want to be relaxed. You want to already be in that mode where it's already manifested, it's already succeeded. It takes preparation in mind, body, and spirit when you getting ready to do workings. Okay, if you want it to be successful. Okay. So for waxing moving, I tell people this. When you're trying to use the full moon, the waxing moon is the best way to draw in love. What is the waxing moon? The waxing moon should start maybe 2 or 3 days before the full moon. If you are already trying to bring in some money, trying to draw some money to you, then when the moon is waxing, before it gets full, start your workings because the as it waxes, the more powerful your magic gets. That's what happens in the waxing moons. The more it waxes, the more powerful energies it brings in. Okay, it's drawing in more powerful energy, and that's what you want if you're doing money drawing. If you can time it and doing like 3 days before, because our ancestors work in threes, I will work it 3 days before. And by the time the full moon comes, the energy is at its full potential. Okay. A lot of people like doing it on the full moon, but really, and being truthful, that moon, when it becomes full at that time, you can't do nothing right then but a whole bunch of releasing. Okay, because that's what it's gonna get ready to do now. It's gonna go into waning. Okay. So that's just my way of looking at that. The best time to take advantage of the full moon is 3 days before, so you can gain all the energy and potency as it goes into a full moon. Okay, I hope that made sense to you. And it's just give it another layer to precision when you know how to do it. Now, if you have not been working with, now this is gonna work even better if you've been doing your rituals. Okay, and when I say rituals, what I mean over there is that we understand that each planet has a planet is a planetary hour. Each planet has an hour of the day. And so we get you going on when that planet is up at that hour of the day, is being there at your altar, calling on those energies, working with those energies. You can look all of this up. I'm not making this up. Okay, we go into more details over there and have more resources in our discussion if you want to know more about this. But we definitely covered this over there. We try to give you as many options as possible when it comes to doing your work and helping those you have to work with in nature and how our ancestors was using them. So again, we break you have so many options with this. But the first thing, I think the best way that I recommend is getting you started with lining you up with, again, with these archangels of these planets and have you calling them in uh, at the hours that they're on. Hope I'm not losing anyone because it can get complex. So, some people get confused. Okay. But we get you lined up with that and doing that work. And if you or when you start being consistent at it, you'll start having these dreams, these angels. If you don't have anything happening, you think, oh, nothing is happening. And when you start sleeping and you start having these dreams, these angels will start coming up in your dreams. Okay. Again, because again, we have to program our subconscious mind for magic. All this is consciousness as well, and opening up that subconscious in a way where it's ready. You're activating it up to the spiritual and astral realm. You're bringing it to the forefront. So it's going to take some consistency. Consistency is key in getting results here. Is it, you might have to do it a few times. You might have to do a couple of spiritual baths. This is getting you in spiritual shape to do magic. Okay? Have I lost anyone? That's why we go through the rituals first. And you will start, I promise you, if you're consistent at this work, at Hoodoo, will see results, but you have to be consistent. Now, your intentions have to be what you're doing. And I will say this again, you're true about doing this, those spirits will see you and they will start assisting you. All you got to do is be consistent. Okay? Now, some root workers, they go afar with this thing and they will start working with fixed stars. We've already talked about planetary hours and planetary correspondences. We've already talked about certain days of the week and doing certain rituals. Monday is moon day. What was somebody said? I forgot the day for that. Monday is moon day. That's a good day to work on your third eye. That's a good day to work on your intuition, on your divination. That's a good day for that. So if you're trying to strengthen your intuition or your psychic abilities, I will be working on Monday, and particularly with the archangel Haniel. And over there, we have you get a whole guide on how to set up your table and start working with these angels. You get a whole guide on what hours that they come on. You get the prayers, the invocation to start working with the angels and set up your table. Okay, so we instantly get you to start working with Bolivian spirits to start healing your mind and your spirit. Because that's what happens when you come in contact with these Bolivian energies. They're going to push you to heal. We recommend shadow work too. It just makes your work goes a lot easier if you have something solid to start from. Okay. Let's see. Now, when we talk about the fixed stars as well, and one thing when we were talking about that lecture, looking at the fixed stars, they are very connected with the moon. So when we start looking at the fixed stars, we start looking at sidereal. I can't even say it, Lord. Sidereal astrology based on the moon. And so there are these fixed stars and spirits and angels that's connected with these fixed stars that can help you move your work along as well and make your work with the moon even that much more powerful and potent. Okay. So there are and there's 27 mansions of the moon, and there's 27 spirits and fixed stars that you can work with that will again increase the success of your workings. And most of these, and we talked about this when we were looking at the mansions of the moon, um, that a lot of when you go into looking at these mansions of the moon and looking at these spirits that is associated with the mansions of the moon, a lot of them are they look a lot feminine. There's a lot of feminine spirits or angels that's associated with moon magic. Okay, and you get a chance to know that. Now, as we went on looking at this, because we break down, I'm looking at astrology, how it's used abroad as well. And Western astrology, again, it's kind of limited because again, it's tied to um the seasons and it's based on the movement of the sun, basically. It begins, it's based on the movements of the sun. That's and it's kind of limited. Okay. And what they say is this zodiac slowly drifts away from the actual constellation because it does not account for the Earth's wobble, the precession of the equinoxes. Now, there's a lot of astrologers or people that practice astrology. They have abandoned the Western astrology. I say no because the way this is why I say that this will make sense as we move on with this. Now let's look at Vedic astrology because that's where a lot of the practitioners that's been practicing a long time, they go into Vedic astrology. Now this got into conjure. I don't know how it got into conjure. I don't have an answer for you, but I definitely know that Hinduism and Vedic astrology is in conjure. It is in there, and I didn't know why at first until started doing reading about this, and then I did a lecture on. I said, now it makes so much sense why they would use Vedic astrology. Now, Vedic astrology is again, it's sidereal, based on I can't even talk based on the sidereal zodiac. It's aligned with the real constellations in the sky. Okay, and it's again, it includes the moon in its predictions. And it's based on what is happening in the present versus what's happening when you were born. That's what's so unique about Vedic astrology. Now they went even further with this. That's what I love about it. uh they went further in there is to put root work into their astrology. They automatically have root work and rituals for you to do when you follow the Vedic astrology. It immediately starts putting you in alignment with nature, with cosmic energy. If you follow Vedic astrology, because again, they're including the moon, and what does the moon mean? The moon means mental. It means psych. Okay, they have cloned that, and versus uh Western astrology is more focused on your identity, trying to identify yourself, which makes sense because these patriarchs created that. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to identify themselves. They're trying to get an identity in the cosmos when there was never, and I'm sorry, you guys, I have to break that down because when you start questioning why are they doing that? Why is that off like that? It was it was not supposed to be like that. In fact, the Vedic astrology is older than Western astrology. Okay, Vedic astrology is older than Western astrology. So now you have these patriarchs coming in and they're changing things to identify themselves. That's the way I see it. That's the way I break it down. You take a look at it and you give me your opinion. But again, it's based on the identity of the person. Because what do we do when we're looking at our zodiac? We try to identify ourselves. We try to find out more about ourselves. Okay, and that's as far as it goes. But if you give it to me, I'm gonna break it down almost like Vedic astrology because I'm gonna show you all the root work, all the talents, all the shadow work that you should be doing based on the current right now and get you going on your practice. That's usually and it tripped me out when I was reading this. I reading about a Vedic astrology. I was like, this is what I do when I break down the chart and give them a hoodoo spiritual blueprint. That's exactly what I do. The same thing the Vedics, the way they're using their astrology, that's the way I use Western astrology. What somebody else is in here. Yep, there here we go. Masters of Points. He says Sidereal, the 27. I was getting ready to go to there. The 27 nostrils. Yes, that's the 27 mansions of the moon. I love your topics and posts. Thank you, Master of Potions, Masters of Potions. Vedic astrology and Ayurveda is the basis of my root work. See, this is Masters of Potion. And if you got you something, if you can work, if you can just understand Vedic astrology and start looking at, because we gave you all the resources in there and showed you the dahas and everything in there. So when you look at your chart and you see everything is in your chart, you get this whole encyclopedia over there. If you have your natal chart, you start looking at that, you automatically start giving you workings and things you need to work on to get you in alignment. I just love the Vedic astrology. It's right to the point. It automatically gives you the root work, prescriptions, and things that you need to do to start lining yourself up with it. I said, "Oh my God, this is why our ancestors was using this. Oh my gosh, it was helping them in their root work, and it was helping them be more successful at their magic. Why wouldn't they use Vedic astrology? They were already following the moon, and Vedic astrology is a lot older than Western astrology. So it made sense why they would have Hindu deities in there. It made sense to me then why they would be following Vedic astrology. And then it came to me, I was like, this is what I am doing when I'm breaking down an astrological chart. I am, going back, finding the root work, getting all that out, and giving it to the person and telling them what's going on with them. And that's basically what happens when break down your chart. I had to do mine the same way. I have to follow it the same way because it has your destiny in there. It has a lot of information about you in your chart. Please look at Dr. Frawley's book of mantra yoga. Okay, I'll look at that. We're getting ready to dive a little kind of dive into that a little bit too when we're talking about healing. Uh we do a variety of things. It's just all we address everything hoodoo over there on our platform, from the healing on down to getting your magic going. That ain't gonna do you no good, beloved, if I just give you spells and you're not in alignment, your energy is off, you don't understand what's going on with you. It's not gonna help you. The best thing we can do is start you off from the beginning on getting yourself in alignment, loving yourself, working on your self confidence, and all of that. All of this plays into your magic. So when you go to your table, you know it's going to pop off because you've been doing the work. Okay. You start you off with your baths, spiritual protection. Those are the things. If you're beginning in hoodoo, that's the only thing you need to be doing first is your rituals, taking your spiritual baths and healing, using that magic to heal yourself. Hydrocode, using that magic to heal yourself. That's the main focus. Okay, it's helping you do that. That's gonna be important. And so once you get that self-confidence going, you get in alignment and you're connecting with your ancestors, you're consistent at that. Cause it's work, you guys. I know you think when you get over here, you're just gonna do this spell. No, it's self-care. You have to be in alignment. You are get your energy in alignment, get your ashe strong. Okay, because you're the magic now. You're the most magic ingredient. You're the magical ingredient. You're the most important ingredient to your magic. Let me say it that way. So making sure you're in tip-top condition and that you are grounded in yourself. You know who you are when you go to that table. When you open your mouth, stuff is moving and shifting for you. Okay? So we make sure we address all of that. Because again, making sure when you go to that table, you get results. I don't want to just give you a spell and say, "Oh, that's gonna work." That would be that would be irresponsible of me when I know there are so many other variables that contribute to successful work. Okay? There's so many more variables than that. And if you want to learn, if you want to learn hoodoo, it's more than just spells. It's a way of life. And so we present it to you that way. I know that it is a way of life. It is a way of thinking. It is a way of being. It is a way of living. And so we address it just that way. It wasn't doing me any good to give you workings. And I know that there are so many variables around it that is going to contribute to your success. and you start having problems, you try to figure out what's going on, then we have to take you back to the beginning. Instead of you starting there from the from the start and choosing work you know you can do that you're going to be successful at. That I can't tell you. I wish somebody would have told me that. I wish somebody would have told me that. Okay, I had to learn the hard way. Okay, but before I even started doing any work, I did ancestors work for a long time. I didn't even think about. I researched hoodoo. I researched many ATRs. I worked with the ancestors a long time before I even start picking up stuff, doing stuff. Okay, and even then, I asked them what to do. I read books and things like that. And again, those are other people's workings that they use that their ancestors or spirit guides showed them. And like the ancestors said to me, it's important for you to find your own magic and follow us in the workings we want you to do in the way we want you to do it. That's somebody else's experience. Yeah, you can use it. It's a good template to start your magic from, but be prepared for your magic looking totally different from somebody else's. Be prepared for that. Okay, because of the different energies. You might be a water sign. You might do a lot of magic with water. You might be a fire sign. You only want to work with fire magic. You a earth sign. You probably only want to work with earth magic. It doesn't mean that it's wrong because it looks different. Okay? You might be like to work with the combination of energies. Okay? You everyone is different. So finding out how your ancestors want you to move forward and how your energies connect with other energies. Okay, because everyone is different, and so we give you that opportunity to find you over there, not tell you who you are, but to find you. And that's what hoodoo is all about, finding you. And once a person finds them and they find out how their magic work, it seems like heaven just opens up for you. Okay, it just opens up for you because now you know your magic, you know how to work it, you know how to use your energy. And it starts first with your mind, beloved. Okay. And I just talked about that. I'm gonna move on. I'm trying to stay on my talking points and I get off a topic. So let's go back to again Western astrology again. Like I said, it's focused more on the sun sign, the ascendant. Um, it reflects. Again, it's going to be talking about again trying to give you a psychological analyst and then expression of identity. Because and it makes sense when I start looking at it because I'm like, yeah, because these patriarchs, they're trying to figure themselves out. So yeah, that would be limited to that. Now, Vedic astrology, it gives again, it gives more primary focus on the moon, okay, and the ascendant. They reflect emotional mind and the life direction. Okay. Now, when I was explaining this to our platform over there in our community, I said, now, when we go into Vedic astrology, their names are different for identifying the planets and the lunar months. And, it's just going to be different. So, the first things they focus on again is the dashas. The dashas are the planetary cycles of life events. You get a full when you get over there because you have to have that in order to break down how everything is moving for you in your natal chart. And so we automatically give you that encyclopedia of dashas. So you'll know the planetary cycles and the life and how they affect your life. I just love Vedic astrology. They just break it down so simply for you. Okay. Nakshatras. The nakshatras, like Master of Potion said, it's the 27 lunar mansions that refine timing and spiritual qualities. Okay, so it's going deeper into you, what gifts that you came in here with, what things that you have here to develop. And those again are, we call them mansions of the moon, but in Vedic astrology they are calling it nakshatras. Okay, I hope I'm not losing you. Hope not losing you. And then you have the yogas, the planetary combination with specific effects. Okay. And then they have something that they call the Jyotish, to be highly predictive. This is sort of like a, a sort of a divination or astrological casting, so they can look uh, at the whole events in your life. Okay, and and I think they call it something of lights. It's called something life of lights or something like that. It's called, but in their language, it's called Jyotish. And again, it's going to predict what's going on in your life, the major timing, the precise timing of the major events in your life. Okay, Vedic astrology is a remedial and prescriptive. So if you have something in your chart that is weak, they give you mantras and prayers uh, to say with specific deities there. Okay, I know this gets kind of confusing because now we're going into Vedic astrology, but you can understand. I break it down even more because I'm a more visual person. I break it down even more with visuals to help you gain a better understanding of it. Okay. But again, these Vedic astrology comes with the prescriptions. It comes with the mantras. It comes with the gemstones you should wear, the energy that you should wear. The same thing we doing now, trying to figure out what stone we need, what herbs we need to be working with, based on what's going on with us. Okay. They focus on acts of charity as well. It's called seva, to neutralize any karmic debts. Again, just again getting you in alignment with these natural energies so you can experience more good fortune, good luck, have a better experience in your life. The Vedic astrology, when you do that, when you automatically start studying Vedic astrology, it automatically start working you out. It made so much sense why our ancestors was using it, and it made so much sense when I start picking it up and using it on myself, why I start using astrology kind of in the same way. And I know a lot of I wish more practitioners would talk about um not just the Bible, but how Vedic astrology, how the Hindu deities got in conjure and things like that, because hoodoo is so much bigger the way it's being portrayed by some people. It's so much bigger than that. Hoodoo is quite enough. Okay, I had the ancestors had to tell me that when I was trying to get into New Age and all that. That's hoodoo is enough. You don't need that. You don't need nothing New Age. This is enough. You got enough over here. This is enough. Believe me, baby. Get over here and sit down and learn. This is enough. Okay, when I sat down and started learning, I was like, oh my gosh, this is enough. This is a lot to work with. Okay. Vedic system of astrology used thousands of years in India to understand destiny, time, and influence of planets and stars on earthly life. Jyotish is not only predictive, it is a prescriptive. It shows both the condition of the souls, journeys, and remedies that can balance the karmic influences. They automatically go into that. It's fascinating when you see it. You be like, oh my gosh. It was fascinating when I saw it, and then compared it with my hoodoo spiritual blueprint that I do for people when they come for me to get that looked at and recommend root work and things they should be doing based on their natal chart. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this. I was like, oh my gosh, this is here. Okay. So you'll be surprised. You think astrology doesn't have anything to do with it, but it has a lot to do with it. You know yourself. Okay, it's 80 to 90%. Uh, to me, it's 80 to 90% accurate when you start breaking down people's chart and looking at what's going on. And with Vedic astrology, it's even closer to 100% correct because, again, they include the moon calculations when they're looking at you, and it's based on the circumstances that you're going through now. So it instantly start putting you in alignment and refining you. Okay, just love it. Uh, the Jyotish prescribes mantras, offerings, like I said, gemstones, rituals aligned to planetary energies. And again, this parallels with hoodoo. We have remedies and things like that. It refines the timing of work through planetary hours, the moons, especially the nakshatras. This allows root workers to be more precise in spell casting and charm making and art to petitions. They even have ways to make charms and stuff in the Vedic astrology. They have the recommendations, and it trips you out when you see it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is how, this is what kept our ancestors hoodoo strong like this. They were very, very smart, very, very intelligent, and hoodoo is constantly evolving. And I think that is creates a lot of controversy in our community because a lot of people want hoodoo to stay the same. But let's just look at it. All African ATRs, they evolve. They don't stay the same. That's so wonderful about our spiritual practices versus a religion. It stays the same. Our spiritual practice evolve. It becomes a technology versus religion that stays stuck in these, you know it doesn't it's not really focused on growth. Okay, that's just my perspective. You may look at that different. That's just my opinion. Karmic insight. The Jyotish chart shows inherited blockages, depths, blessings, much like hoodoo's work of healing generational trauma and working with ancestors. Both systems recognize that we carry spiritual conditions from those who came before us. The Athra Veda is the most closely tied to magic, healing, practical remedies. It contains charms, invocations, spells for protection, prosperity, health, and even exorcism. Its purpose was to always to address the day-to-day struggles of life using spiritual law and divine sound. Now, if that don't look like hoodoo to you, I don't know. It looked like hoodoo to me, you guys. If you listen to Beer Biceps here on YouTube, he is a huge speaker on Tantra. He is the only person other than you that says Hinduism is like voodoo. It's just like voodoo. I go back into that again. Hinduism looks like voodoo. I broke that all down over there. It's unbelievable, you guys. That's why we have to start having discussions on stuff like that. That's why I love our community, because we're not afraid to look at things. We're not one way. Like, we talk about this is a open discussions and lectures, giving you options on getting your work done, because this is what our ancestors did. Okay, now, this is what they did. I couldn't believe it was in there either. I was like, Hindu. How's Hindu and conjure? That just stripped me out. I was like, why? Why? But it made sense why, I was attracted to Ganesha. He's the Lord of all roads. You can compare him to Papa Legba, Elegba. Okay? Go look at Ganesha, what he is. Hoodoo is alive and evolves. Tantra brought my root work to life. See? Master Potion said hoodoo is alive and evolves. It does. And I don't think a lot of people like to hear that, because they think, oh, it's so they tied to Christianity, and that we have to remember when we're saying this, that's not so. Okay, we turned that Bible into a grimoire. Okay, Christianity had nothing to do with that Bible. We turned the Bible into a grimoire. We understood the universal spiritual sciences that was going on in that Bible better than the person who had the religion that was trying to push it up on us. I think that's the best way to look at that, instead of seeing that uh trying to associate hoodoo with Christianity, because it's not Christian. And we're breaking it down even more as we go on there. I can't wait till next month, because next month is Hoodoo Heritage Month. So we're diving deeper into hoodoo and the practice and helping you understand the magical components and the elements of hoodoo. We're breaking it down even more and then bringing it back together again to help you understand it. But we definitely talked about this. Now, this makes it, when you look at Vedic astrology, when you look at Hinduism, this makes it resonate strongly with hoodoo, which was developed in the system, out of survival, healing, justice for oppressed people, and a few parallels. Okay, they have so many parallels when you start looking at Vedic astrology, when you start looking at Hinduism, looking at the Vedic system that they use within Hinduism, and you start looking at it, then looking at hoodoo, it comes together so perfectly. And there was a lot of synchronization going on. We do know there was a lot of synchronization going on in the ATRs. That's why you see a synchronization in Catholicism. You see some synchronization going on in Christianity. That people were still trying to keep hold on to their beliefs and their spiritual science by masking it through religion. That's what Christianity did for us. Okay. Am I losing you, TikTok family? I think I'm losing my TikTok family. This might be above some of you guys. I know it's hard to understand some of it because this is no one has really talked about um, Vedic astrology or Hinduism in conjure a hoodoo. I know this is not a popular topic. Everybody's sticking to the Bible and candles and jars and things like that. But I'm here to tell you, hoodoo is so much vaster than that, and you have so many more options on doing your work. I like it. I like the fact that we have a variety of options in getting our work done. I'm glad that it's not stuck just in one place. Some people would disagree with me because they want it to be just like this, and I think we think like that because we still have a religion framework going on there, and spirit that has no place in spirituality, especially in hoodoo. It has no place for that because our ancestors did what got the work done. If it lined up with their beliefs and their spiritual science, they got the work done. And when you start looking at Vedic astrology as well, and you look at the history of Hinduism, and even when I was writing a book about this, they talked about these dark skinned women who went into India, and she gave birth to these Naga gods. Okay, when we talk about the Nagas, because the Nagas come up too when you get into Vedic astrology. These are the energies and forces and spirits that help you on your way within the Hinduism, within the practice. Okay, so if you want to know more about this subject and you're interested in me breaking it down even further, join us on Patreon and our Spiritual Roots Hoodoo community, where you can learn more about the Vedic astrology if that's something that you're interested in knowing about. And again, we give you a variety of resources uh, to help you understand more and study it for yourself. Your TikTok family better get a clue. Master Poacher said, your TikTok family better get a clue. They don't know that I'm dropping diamonds and pearls on them right now, Masters of Potions, because nobody is, we're kind of being restricted in the way hoodoo is being discussed on TikTok. I've never seen anyone discuss this on TikTok in this way. So this probably is going, they don't probably quite understand. They're not familiar with it. And that could be going on. That's very understandable. That's very understandable. Okay. You know, because I see a repetitive of the same thing being said here. It's like they're all saying the same thing here. And hoodoo is so vast, and when you look at our spiritual sciences and look at our spiritual system, our ancestors were so creative because no matter where they went, they were able to evolve their spiritual practices. Hi Chanel. Hi African no hyphen. They were able to expand their spiritual practices no matter what. So why would it stay the same? Why wouldn't it be have a variety of options in getting stuff done? I mean, that's what hoodoo is about, isn't it? Use what work, isn't it? Yes, they use that Bible for affirmation, a grimoire. It had the mysteries in there, the spiritual mysteries in there that they understood. Yes, they use that. We still do. But we also look at other systems that work better for us that improves the practice. Whatever improved the practice, that's for our ancestors. You're going to see a little European folk magic in there. You're going to see a little American Indian magic in there. You're going to see, what else you're going to see? Jewish mysticism in there. Okay. You're going to see, what else is in there? There's something else in there that I'm forgetting too. But there's 4 or 5 different elements in hoodoo. And just by it telling you that it has European folk magic in there, it has American Indian magic in there. Now we see that it has some Hinduism in there. Now we see that they got some Hinduism in there, and we know why it got in there. Um, Looking at these elements our ancestors was using, they were upgrading the technology of their spiritual practices. That's basically what happens there. You'll see that I think I was reading something about the Olorishas, and they were talking about how it's constantly evolving every day. We were reading something about the secrets of voodoo, looking at their mysteries and how they these deities come into being. Deities are constantly coming into being in voodoo. There are more. We got more deities, just like you see in Hinduism and voodoo. Just like their deities are constantly being created in voodoo, you'll have that in Hinduism as well. It's so identical, almost to each other. Why is this happening? And when you look at voodoo and you're saying where are they getting these deities from? Why they're constantly there's different faces of these deities. Like you have Azurli Frida, you got Azurli Frida Dantor. Why is this? Voodoo, you got Petro spirits, you got Rada spirits. Why is that in there? Okay, and then you start to look at how they're creating these deities. Now they we research. I don't just say stuff because I'm guessing. Okay, they are deifying ancestors in voodoo, and they become deified. They become gods. Appalachian magic sometimes. Yeah, we're just getting into now. Next month we're gonna be getting into Appalachian magic. Appalachian magic and Appalachian conjure is in there too, because we're getting into Appalachian magic. Come next month, we're just diving in deep. Doing Hoodoo Heritage Month. Thank you, Master Potion. You really helping me out. You just don't know, honey. Okay, so all those elements are in there, so why wouldn't it grow? And spiritualism, mediumship is the foundation through ancestor veneration. And he is saying the same. Thank you. You just the ancestors is giving me more confirmation because he's right here, or he or she is right here in the comments. That and spiritualism, mediumship is the foundation through ancestor veneration. You automatically learn that. Okay, you're gonna automatically become, prepare to be a medium and a psychic when you get over here in hoodoo. Prepare to be that because that's what you're gonna become. because you're gonna be a medium and you're gonna be caught talking to your ancestors. We were just talking about this. Was it yesterday? Um, I was talking about this in our meeting, and one of our practitioners, she said, "I'm actually talking to my ancestors." She said, "I asked them what they want me to eat, and girl, immediately, I haven't had." She said, "I haven't had ham hocks in 10 years." She said, "I started tasting ham hocks and greens." She said, "That's what I fixed them too. I fixed them ham hocks and green." You'll start having that to happen to you. You'll start smelling things. And she said, "I'm not talking to myself." I said, "You're absolutely not talking to yourself." She said, "I can hear them in my head talking to me." I said, "That's how they talk to you." She said, "It's not even my voice." I said, "It's not supposed to be. It's their voice." Okay, expect for that to happen. That's why we immediately get you started on your shadow work, start moving that stuff out so you can clear up your lines of communication. Because I want you to be the best you can be. I don't want you to be wondering what my ancestors saying to me. Oh, I need to go get a reading. Because if you're like that, that means you need some cleansing going on. There's some healing that needs to going on. If you're confused and you're cloudy, you don't know what's going on with your ancestors. You just don't know. That means some cleansing need to be going on, some healing that needs to be going on there. High time stepping army. There needs to be some healing going on there. That's what needs to happen, baby. That's why you confused. That's why you don't know what's going on. Okay. So if that's happening to you, I had somebody to come to me the other day. Bless her heart, and she needed a real cleansing going on. We can get denial. We can't see what's going on. We call something else. You know, we try to put fantasy on things like that, and I can see how that happened through social media because it has you living in this false reality. 'Cause some of these people, they create these personas through social media, and we take that stuff in. Some of us, but again, if you're confused like that and you're just in a crazy situation, a lot of cleansing needs to go on first, beloved. Okay. What Lamar Curtis said, your spiritual soul is appreciated. Thank you for the live chat. Much appreciated, heartbeat. Well, thank you, Lamar. Okay. So again, Master Potion, I'm so thankful to be able to anytime. I know that's right, Master Potions. So again, if you're confused and stuff like that, baby, you need to, start on cleansing and healing. That's the first thing I will tell you as a practitioner. That's going on with you. You come see me. First thing I'm gonna do is give you some work to do. Is start cleansing, healing, or whatever, and tell you to give me an update. Did it move some stuff out for you? Are you consistent at pouring libations for your ancestors if you don't have an altar? And are you consistent at your spiritual bath? Just getting yourself clean like that. Okay. Just getting yourself clean like that. You can't do anything else. Do that. Okay. Because you got a lot of people, a lot of us, we want to do the fancy stuff in hoodoo. And I want that for you. I want you to be able to do some magic. Ain't nobody seen and move mountains, girl. And honey, manifest your best. And look, I want that for you. I do, honey. That's why I put everything over there for you to do, be the best you can be. To fly off and just do whatever, baby. Do whatever your heart's desire, wherever your ancestors lead. I want that for you. Okay? I want that for you. But it ain't gonna do you no good if you got a whole bunch of wounds and stuff on you and you heavy and stuff. Uh, and trying to do that work, it ain't gonna help you, baby. Okay? You have to go back to the drawing board and start healing and do some shadow work, some inner child work. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. Just look at it as now you are perfecting your magic because now you get to use it on you. You get to use your magic on you now. You get to use it and heal yourself and focus on yourself. Self-care is the most biggest component in hoodoo. If you ain't taking your spiritual baths, you're not working on your mind, keeping your mind centered, you're not working on your emotional regulation, your anxiety, you're not fine-tuned. You have to be fine-tuned. You are the biggest ingredient to your magic. So if your mind is not right, right, you're doubting, you have these, negative thoughts and things like that, you're going to be limited in some of the workings that you can do. Okay. And if that does happen, and sometimes that does happen, you have another option. You can either go work with a saint. People do that. They'll go work with a saint or angel to help them amplify their workings. And see, you don't know that. Some of us don't know that because we're not given enough options in doing our work. And over there, and I know Hoodoo, we get the work done. Our ancestors got the work done. They couldn't worry about that. Well, let me go talk to this saint. Let me go talk to Saint Expedite. Let me go talk to Saint Peter. Let me go. Okay, they had to get the work done. So they reached out to archangels. They reached out to saints, and in doing so, this helped their, build their faith. That helps them have more self-esteem in themselves. It helped them heal themselves, because when you start working with some of these angels and saints too, they start to help you heal in those areas. So if you can't do the work and you have, all this stuff going on, get you to working with a saint, setting up a table to an archangel or a saint to help you. But that needs to be the focus. And you need to be aware of that. Okay, be realistic when you go in here and start picking up stuff. Are you strong enough to do it on your own? Do you need healing? Do you need assistance with this work? You really need to really need it done. But you right now, the way you what you got going on now with your energy, you can't do it by yourself. So you might have to do work a ritual with the archangel. Have to. That's what you think them people doing in the Catholic Church. We even give you a table to set up, give you a guide to work with saints, the invocations, and how to set up your table to work with saints. Like there's, my goal for you, good, my goal and my mission over there, the way I mentorship. There's absolutely no reason why you hoodoo shouldn't be fixing your life, because you got too many options to get it done. If it's not being fixed, it's because you're not putting in the work. And hoodoo is work. You will have to do some work over here. Okay? So don't think you're gonna have to go, you just gonna go over there and light a candle, walk away. Now you're gonna go up there and you're gonna be opening your mouth and praying. You're gonna be doing some fasting. You might have to get up 5 between the hours of 3 or 5 o'clock in the morning to go meet that spirit. Okay? It's work over here, but if you do the work, you will get results. That's why I tell people, they'll say, it's magic, and I'm like, I don't know. Science. It look like science to me. It look like science to me. It look like I got my butt up and did something, opened my mouth, and I understand the power of the ethers. I understand the power of sound. I know the understand the power of my mind. I understand the power of the herbs, the spirits in the herbs. I understand the spirits of fire and how that worked in my magic. I understand the spirits of water and how they're helping me in my magic. I understand the spirits of that tree and how that tree is helping me connect with my ancestors and move my magic along. See, when you start understanding all that, you working with it, it's a science. Okay. And we break it again. And if this is going over your head, because I know we're here at a short time, so I'm very limited to how I can share information to you. But like I said, if you're interested in knowing why are you working with that candle, you're working with fire magic. You're working with I had to break this down the other day. You're working with the fire spirits in that candle. Why are you working with that water? You're working with the water spirits in that water. Our ancestors understood that. That's why you taking that spiritual bath, because it's water spirits in that bath that's gonna help cleanse you, help move some stuff out for you. Why you working with those herbs? Because they're spirits, mighty spirits like John the Conqueror, the spirit of John the Conqueror, John the Cooker okay? It's spirits in those that are helping you in your magic. Our ancestors understood this. They understood that nature what's all around us, and we can pull on these nature spirits to help us in our work. So you have a variety of energies working with you to heal yourself and help your magic manifest. And once you understand these elements and not just picking it up just because somebody told you to do it, because what's happening, and that what's happening is we're picking things up and we don't know why. What is that we're picking up? What is that candle doing? What is the essence of fire? What does fire really do? What is the essence of water? What does water really do? What is the essence of these gemstones, crystals, and things? How do they really assist us in our work? So I'm gonna break it all the way down to you. You get over there. You're not gonna be confused. You ain't gonna be confused about why you picking up stuff, what you doing. You're gonna know exactly what you're doing when you get to that altar. Can't nobody tell you nothing different. Okay? Can't nobody tell you nothing different. You're gonna know what you're doing. You're gonna stand on hoodoo, baby. You're gonna be standing on it because you understand it. You'll be integrating it into your life because it is a way of life. You'll know what you're doing when you walking up there and when you open your mouth. You'll know when to close your mouth and when to open it. And that's very powerful when you understand the elements and the tools in your work. But if you don't understand what's going on and you're scattered minded, you don't understand what's going on, that's how your work gonna be. But if you understand with intention, you know what you're doing and you know the elements and what they do in your work, then you have a more likely chance of success. But if you don't know, you're confused, you don't understand these elements, yeah, you might have some issues there. Okay. But like I said, I'm going to break it all the way down for you, break it down, and then bring it back together. I have did this twice over there. I have broken down hoodoo and then brought it back together, breaking it down again in more simpler terms and bringing it back together. There's no way you can be confused. And then I have a variety of these videos y'all come back to, and maybe they help you. I don't know. I try to help you as much as I can to understand and grasp a greater comprehension of hoodoo. It is not it's not limited. The sky is no limit to hoodoo. It's constantly evolving, no matter what people tell you. Uh, you know, with the regurgitation of what it is evolving and getting bigger. And I think even more so, it's getting bigger as young people come in and evolve it even more to integrate into their lives. That's what it was never meant to stay under Christianity. Now it's not under Christianity no more. It's wide in the open. So you know it's gonna evolve even more. The same thing that you seen with Cintheria, the same thing that you see with Lakumi, the same thing that you see with Umbanda, the same thing. I suggest you go look at those spiritual sciences. See, the only one we're familiar with is probably voodoo, Ifa, Lakumi, Palo. We're familiar with those. They're kind of like mainstream, but the other ones that you need to look at is Umbanda, okay, Puerto Rican magic. You need to look at those spiritual systems because these are the same ancestors. They don't change because they went to a different place. They still the same ancestors. It don't even matter. Look at look what's in how their spiritual science is set up, and then you'll start understanding how a lot of the practices and stuff got into hoodoo. And that's another again, you can reach back and put that back in hoodoo because it's hoodoo. It's ours, it's our ancestors. Okay. You start to understand that, and we break that all down over there. We don't just uh focus on hoodoo itself, but helping you understand how certain things got into hoodoo. Why do we have have these certain things we do, like the crossroads spirits, leaving stuff by a tree? Why is that there? We help you understand that instead of having you leaving at the tree and you don't know why you leaving at the tree. Why you leaving at the tree? Why you taking to the crossroads? What's at the crossroads? We break that all down. Okay, and with the resources, because I have to say, with the resources, that I want you just listening to me. It's good when we can absorb this information for ourselves and start reading for ourselves. But some of us don't like to read. I try my best. If I can find an audio book over there, I'll provide that for you. But reading is going to be essential in expanding your consciousness. I'm going to say this again because I said this on a meeting the other day. I just got they get me to talking in our community, and I can't stop talking sometimes. But honey, they just have me talking. But uh, again, when you are reading and you are studying, you are expanding your consciousness. Let me break this down to you. For those of you that don't want to read and you think you're cheating by going to listen to somebody else and gaining knowledge, you are not. Okay? Because when you start reading things and learning for yourself, what happens is you expand your consciousness. And when you expand your consciousness and start understanding other things, you start attracting higher frequencies. And what happens is when you start asking these angels and your ancestors questions, and now that you're comprehending more spiritual science, they're able to pull from the things that you've learned and expanded your consciousness with and start explaining things to you. But can't if you ain't expand your consciousness, you're not learning anything, you're not trying to understand spiritual concepts, then you're gonna have a lot of static in your communication because you haven't fine-tuned your broadcaster, your transmitter. You haven't upgraded it at all. So how can the spirit give you any type of information when you haven't learned anything to expand your consciousness or understand spiritual concepts so they can again pull from that knowledge that you have and start giving you more insight on it. And that's usually what happens. When you start it's amazing to me when I start reading something and I be like, I wonder why it's like that. The ancestors immediately start giving me, giving me downloads of what's really going on with that. I'm telling you how it works. You have to have the experience uh, to understand it. That's why you have a lot of these people, like for a lack of a better, like Mark Zuckerberg and uh, all these great inventors. Let me just say it like that. And you go to look at these great inventors, most of them was Masons and they were into the occult. Why am I saying this? Because these higher intelligence were feeding them was feeding them informations and downloads. Once you start coming in contact with these planetary energies, these people go on to create an event and figure out make all sorts of scientific discoveries. Again, they're going to open up your mind and help you understand things that you were probably not able to understand. It's going to happen. It's going to trip you out when you're able to understand. You be like, how is this happening? Because you start working with a higher intelligence and they start leaping forward. They start leaping you forth in intelligence. They were leaping you forward. They will leap you forward. I heard some guy on TikTok talked about it, how he had all these a mental condition and all this stuff, and he picked up magic and he walking and talking like he never had a problem at all. It can happen. You seen that movie Doctor Strange? Okay, they telling you a lot in that movie. Doctor Strange is telling you a lot in the movie. He came in contact with these higher energies and he healed himself. Doctor Strange is a good example of that. Okay. This is what happens when you start working with these subtle energies. Don't expect things to happen because it's so subtle. You'll see strong synchronicities that lets you know, hey, I'm in alignment with what's going on because they work on a subtle level, but they have a great impact in making big shifts in your life. Okay, I hope this making sense. I hope I'm not losing y'all. Okay, now let's talk about the spiritual blueprint, and I wanted to compare it um to the Vedic astrology because the way I break it down. It just tripped me out when I started looking at it. I was like, oh, I'm doing the same thing. Now, in the way I do a spiritual blueprint, it shows the forces that shapes the person's life, ancestral influences, generational patterns, spiritual gifts, and blockages. It helps the practitioner know what work needs to be done to heal, to protect, and prosper. You're going to get that. If I give you a blueprint, you're going to get all of that. Even the work that you need to be doing in the next moon cycle. I try to include that. So if there's a moon cycle that's coming up, I'll put what work is suggested for you for the moon cycle based on your on your natal chart, your blue chart. Now in Vedic astrology, the birth chart is also seen as the blueprint of the souls and karma. The placement of the planets, the moon, the lunar mansions, and the planetary cycles reveal inherited karma, soul lessons, and opportunities for growth. Both of our systems, again, are doing the same thing. Okay. We're looking at the patterns. We're showing you what to look at and what he'll. Yeah, Master Post said Dr. Strange is my hero. We're looking at the patterns, looking at the things that you came in here with. If this on the mother side, the father side, whatever ancestors work you should be doing, we're going to give it to you right then and there. Okay. Our spiritual blueprint shows any struggles, if you got any traumas, blessings, anything you got in there. I'm going to see that. Okay. And I'm going to, again, tell you what's there and what you need to focus on. Some people, they're aware of it. They're just like, yes, Miss Penny, this is what I got going on. Yes, you were on target, and I'm going to do exactly what you said to do. My sun and moon are not the same on my Western astrology chart. My sun and moon are not same as on the Western chart. It might be different. They say he is based off Pascal Randolph. They say he's based off. You talking about? Is that a real person? Are you saying Doctor Strange was written off a real person named Pascal Rudolph? Is that what I'm understanding? And Tina Cole, what's different? Maybe I'm not understanding what you're saying, sweetie. Okay, so uh again, we're breaking down that chart, showing what type of veneration that you need to be doing, what type of generational ancestors work that you need to be doing. Gonna jump you right on in there. Because you got your natal chart. Some of y'all got y'all natal chart, and you're very amazed by it. It helps you know yourself. A lot of you have that, but honey, that is your root work. That's the root to who you are and getting you in alignment. Oh, in the Vedic. Okay. Yeah, it will change in the Vedic. It will. It will change in the Vedic, Tina. You are absolutely right. It'll show up different in the Vedic astrology. So, yeah, Tina just said that. Tina said, "Hey, her zodiac sign changed based on the Vedic astrology, and it will change when you get over there. You may not even be the same zodiac sign when you start working with Vedic astrology, but it's more accurate." I don't know what to say about that. I'm perplexed by that, you guys too. I guess because I'm so hell bent on being that Pacific sign, and then you get over there, it changes. You just like what? That's how I am too. I feel the same way, Tina. But it works. So I don't know. I'm still perplexed by that. I don't know what to take. I don't know I don't know. Okay, I don't know, but it works. That's something I can say, but it works. Okay, Pascal Beverly Randolph was said to be Doctor Strange. Okay. Again, like I said, it's, like Doctor Strange, when you start working with these energies, you'll start seeing improvements in yourself. You will start seeing improvement in yourself once you start working with these energies. Your mind will start working differently. Okay. It renews your mind, restore your mind. If you've been thinking on lower vibrations and frequency, because again, these negative thoughts will keep your frequency down. And the thing is to get your frequency up. I don't care if you have. I was telling them, I was telling them in my community, I was doing some work the other day. Honey, you should have saw me with them affirmations. I was with them affirmations. I was just like, woo, 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 just fighting them, them negative energies. I was just in them affirmations. I mean, I was saying it with meaning. I was saying it with every meaning and emotions I had in my body. Again, because I know how powerful it is when we're saying it out loud to reprogram our subconscious and getting that subconscious to move the way I want it to move. And honey, and I said, girl, I even sometimes listen to affirmations in my sleep. I would just put on sleep affirmations again to reprogram that subconscious mind. See, if you're serious about this and you're really trying to get your magic moving, you're gonna be trying to program that subconscious mind to get things going for you. That's why you'll hear, and I'll say this again, most people, practitioners that practice magic or whatever, they will tell you they damn near had to get delusional and crazy to tap into their magic. Because that, I'm telling, that programming that they put on top of us and moving that stuff out, it takes some tenacity and some perseverance to get it off of you so you can tap into your magic. Pascal Beverly Randolph created the first Rosicrucian lodge in America. He was a black man, and all of his work was stolen and inspired by Aleister Crowley, who of the white magician. Isn't that something? That's very interesting. That's very interesting. I never knew that. Pascal Beverly. So this was a black man. So Doctor Strange was based off a black man having this occult knowledge and having this experience with these energies. Because that's exactly what happens. What happened with Doctor Strange? He got open to a brand new universe. He understood, he saw a brand new universe. Okay. And that's what happens when you come in contact with these energies. Even if you, when we go in and we talk about the occult and we talk about magic, the first thing they're going to mention here is your mind, your mind, your mind. Everything starts from your mind. Consciousness, mind. I have to show uh our practitioners that when we're in a lecture, look, it's talking about your mind again. It's talking about your mind. You can't get away from it. It's talking about your mind, getting your mind right. It's every occultist is talking about your mind again. How to go into your mind and tap into these energies. It's your mind, your mind, your mind. You can't get away from it. Okay, you can't get away from it. That's why I will tell you. Uh, uh you know, I will tell you once you get over here, and for the ones that don't have good intentions. And I have to tell you that now, if you know your intentions ain't right, you know you need some work. And some of us a little raggedy because we didn't dealt with a lot of trauma, so we frozen, we hard, we cold. You know, if you know your intentions is like that, and you're trying to jump over here, especially in the way I teach it, them spirits can see straight through you. Okay, they can see straight through you. Their consciousness. You can't hide your intentions from a spirit. It just ain't gonna work. I will, masters of potion. I will. Okay. You can't fool, and that's what happens when you have people over here for the wrong thing, and you think that you don't have to do your work. You think you don't have to work on your mind and do emotional regulation. They have these adverse effects, and then they're scared of it, and they want to call it evil and all that. No, it's just that you wasn't ready to dive deep in the work. It was one young lady, she picked up some tarot cards. The tarot cards answered all her questions, but because the tarot card answered all her questions right, she got scared and went back to church. But why did you get the tarot card, ma'am? Y'all say you want the truth, but y'all make Christians look like liars because every time you get the truth, you run back over there. Just make it make sense. She said it scared her because it told her the truth. But why would it scare you? Because that's what you wanted, right? Right? But no, you didn't want that. You called that evil because it told you the truth. I mean, I I be trying to understand comprehend some of the stuff that the things that you guys say because it don't be making any sense. But you can't trick a spirit, so you don't even get over here doing it. Now you can work, you can keep that regular mindset, but you're gonna be working with some spirits that's gonna torment you. That's what they gonna do. You can keep that regular mindset if you want to. You're gonna find yourself conjuring with a spirit that's gonna torment you. He brought recrusion and Eastern knowledge to the West. Probably the best thing to happen to the West. I'm gonna have to look him up too. They didn't wrote created a whole movie on him. But that should have let me know something because they had Doctor Strange with these. Every time they depict somebody with a dark characteristics like that, with dark hair and stuff, I it's like a subliminal message that the character was black. They kind of did that with Abraham Lincoln. They can't handle the facts of knowledge. Nope. Okay, so just make sure you have your mind together. It's important that you have your mind together in your work. Your mind, like I said, your mind is the most magical thing. Boy, when you think about your mind consciousness, I'm not talking about your brain. I'm talking about your mind. The fact that you can sit up here and come up here and listen to me, and your mind is not your brain. That's supernatural right there. Nobody can see your mind, but yet they know you have one because you're speaking, you're talking. That is so magical. You see how magical you are? And then when you start to use your mind becomes a broadcaster and transmitter to commute with the universe and all these different energies. And see, that's when you go into the mental plane, when you start really using your mind, okay? You can really start tapping it. You understand this. And this has baffled occultists and scientists I mean, they still breaking down consciousness and how it works in magic, how the mind works. No one has can really just pin that down, beloved. So you're already magic. It's that your broadcaster, your mind, it needs to be fine-tuned back on the attunement of magic. It needs to be tapping back into the ethers again. It's been untapped because they got us putting stuff in our mind that don't even help us. They distract. I remember when hearing somebody talk about a TV one time. An older person was talking about the TV, and it was confusing to me because I was young. And they was like, that was the worst thing they could have did is created that TV. I mean, that just messed everything up. Magic ain't the same no more. And I was like, what? It didn't make sense to me when they were saying that. I was like, why would they say something like that? A TV is the best thing because we can learn or whatever, you know. I would say they create these pictures for you when you already got the pictures in your mind. You don't need that, and it just didn't make sense then. But now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, they were onto something. Maybe the TV is messing up our true vision. It's messing up our third eye, our inner vision. Because I can tell you now, your open eyes is fooling you because nothing around you is real. Your inner eye is truly the real eye where you see things. When you close your eyes and go in and look through your inner eye, you see things in its truest form. It is the light that's bouncing off everything, and it's what you call reality that is fooling you and making you think that this is real. But matter is not real, it's constantly moving. It is our mind that's making this reality real and the reflections of light. Does that make sense? I believe there's something to that. Pascal Abraham Lincoln, psychic advisor. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. Pascal Beverly Rudolph was Abraham Lincoln's psychic and advisor. They had a secret society. They mentioned his name and made him a black man in the vampire movie. Ain't that something? I believe there's something to that. Hey, you just dropped some. Hey, I just learned something today. And I just put that together in my mind like that. See how the ancestors just connect? I guess I need to know that. I guess the ancestors connecting it together because when I looked at, like I told him, when I looked at Doctor Strange, I knew that Every time they use these dark features for these people in these movies, I didn't think to myself that person must have been black. Instead of casting a black person, they put a pale person in his place. They usually try to make them with dark hair, and then when you bring up that fact, I think they do it so when you bring up that fact to them, that person was dark skinned. Well, we tried our best to display that because we made them with dark features. We chose an actor with dark features. They did that in one movie where this girl, do y'all remember that movie? This girl was a CNA and she hit somebody in her car and she brought the man home instead of taking him to the hospital. Remember that movie? That movie was crazy. And the man, and I think the man ended up getting away or something, but she drove him home. She hit him, and she didn't take him to the hospital. And the movie was supposed to be based on a black CNA that this actually happened to, but instead of them casting a black woman to play that role, they casted a white T woman and put braids in her hair. And then when they they called them out on it. They was like, we know that she was black. That's why we put braids in her hair. We did our best to depict the true, depiction of her. We did our best to do that. And people was just like, no, 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 you just did a whole lie. You just appropriated culture, appropriating everything. You put braids in that girl head and all that stuff. So people were not people were not happy the way they did that movie. And they do that, not just that's not the first time they happen. They do that. I seen them in another movie. What was that movie? I think Viola Davis played in that movie. Uh, it was with the superheroes. I forgot the name of that movie, but Viola Davis was in this movie. And in this movie, they was supposed to go get the enchantress. They were supposed to go get this enchantress. And so in the movie they show her like dark and all this, she was pale skin. I said that woman supposed to be black, but they are depicting her as something else. But in reality, this probably was a black woman called the enchantress. And you'll see them do that. They do that a lot. Okay, they'll try to depict them with dark hair or dark features, but the skin tone don't match. Just because they got dark hair and brown eyes and all that, that don't make them black. Y'all not helping with that. Okay, you're lying once again. Okay. Each play yeah, we just went over Blavatsky's some of her writings in there when we talked about nature spirits. She did a wonderful breakdown in her lecture in talking about nature spirits. We go over her writings as well. H.P. Blavatsky and him were in a psychic war. Really? There was a lot of stuff going on. Now I'm finna switch gears. This might go over some of y'all head because me and Master of Potions is having a conversation in there. They're well rounded in the occult and spiritual sciences. You know, I kind of see some conflicts going on with the Thelema Society, the Rosicrucian, the Hermetic Order, the Golden Dawn. All of them seems to have their own disagreements when it came to the occult. And I think the most craziest thing that I've seen there in the occult, what has happened here recently, is that you got people that's leaving the occult, which tripped me out, and I started to go over this over there, but I said, nah, I don't know. I'm gonna go over that. But I don't know if you've heard of this Masters of Power. But the most amazing thing that just caught my eye would be the chaos magic. And I didn't know what that was at first. I saw it and I was like, oh, I don't want to read about that. Nancy said, you need to open this up and read this. This ain't what you think it is. By the title, it makes it look like it's something crazy. They said you need to read where they got it from. I think that's the most important thing. And so when I read that, this basically were some people that was in the occult that didn't want to take in all that jargon, a jargon that was being passed down to them in some of these lodges or occult organizations. So what they did is they went back to the original form of magic. They went all the back way back to shamanism and started adopting some Eastern philosophies to tap into their own magic. And in their philosophy, they use what work, anything that work at any time. They believe change depending on the work that they need to do. It's a trip. When I was reading it, I was like, "Oh my god." Oh my god, it was just tripping me out. I was like, it sounds like hoodoo. Uh First of all, and now they're using indigenous spiritual practices calling it something else, chaos magic. So, it tripped me out when I was reading that. I was just like, oh my gosh. So you have these other occultists that say, hey, we don't want to do all this stuff that y'all doing, the way y'all watering this down, intellectualizing this. We want to go back to the original form and take it to the original science that it was. And that's what they did. It's a trip. I don't know, y'all. I'm weird, nerdy on that type of stuff because I like that kind of stuff. But it was just fascinating to me that they did that. And now you have some of these occultists have separated themselves. They have their own thing going on with this chaos magic. In 1996, a biography was published of Pascal Beverly Randolph, 19th century Black American spiritualist, reclusion, and sex magician by John Patrick Dinwiddie and Franklin Rosemont. All of her writings came from him. Oh my God, are you kidding me? She's damn thief. Oh my gosh, all of her writings. Oh my gosh. All of her writings came from the black man. I have the books on it. Now, her story. They try to tell her story that she went to all these places and learned all this stuff about spirituality, and she was claimed to have this sort of gift herself. I do admit that H.P. Blavatsky looks a little bit peculiar. She does has a peculiarness about her when you look at her, this unworldly look about her. But see, this is my first time learning about Pascal. And I'm gonna have to do some more research on him, especially during Hoodoo month, because I did never hear about Pascal Beverly Randolph. And see, what another thing that tripped me out about H.P. Blavatsky, for her being the only woman but I don't think there was many women among the those societies, secret societies. But I find her to be her other books. This is the only lecture I got when she was talking about nature. Now she probably, now I'm thinking about it, she probably stole it from the black man, Lord. But she was the only one that talked about nature in that way versus the other cultures. They try to intellectualize it. You didn't even know they was talking about nature, and they be talking about nature. They call it about other means. It's almost like they wanted to not call a tree. They wanted to call it something else. I mean, just renaming stuff. That's what happened when you get other people to come in and start stealing stuff and trying to rename stuff, and they jack it up and water it down just for themselves. That's what you see what's going on there with some of those occultist writing. Even though we do cover them, we do color Cornelius Agrippa, we cover Levi Eliphas, John D. We cover a variety of them to help you understand what's going on with hoodoo and the occult sciences. We have to look at that, okay? And we look at the Solomonic magic. We look at uh, the 6, 7 books of Moses. We look at that because our ancestors used that in hoodoo. Now, when I look at Madame Blavatsky, that's what H.P. Blavatsky. When I look at Helen Blavatsky, that's her first name. She seemed to not have her own words. It's like she repeating some of the other stuff that the men had said, which surprises me coming from her. And another things I did not like that she put in there because it sounds so new agey is when she started talking about humans evolved from these hyperboreans. I was like that I ain't know what to say about that. And I know a lot of you probably haven't been, I've been studying this a long time, all these books and stuff like that. So Master Potion is bringing this, having this discussion. I'm having this discussion, but again, She didn't have her, and I didn't know whether it was just her lack of English, because she wasn't from here. I think she was from somewhere else, Germany or Switzerland, or she was from somewhere else. And I was just like, maybe it was just her lack of English that it just sound repetitive, and she had somebody to write this for her, because they say she didn't know very good English. So I'm just trying to give her a pass. But now that I'm looking at it, maybe she was stealing somebody's stuff. Casmich still use sigils too. This is why we are connected. Sometimes I feel like Hoodoo started a chaos system. I said the same thing, Masters of Potions. Oh my God. I said the same thing when I was looking at chaos magic. I was like, oh my gosh, this look like Hoodoo, and they didn't name the chaos magic god. You ain't lying. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I feel like Hoodoo. Oh my gosh, like they thought the same thing. Somebody is a nerdy like me when it comes to this stuff. I'm a nerdy when it comes to this stuff, the way I can break it down, and the way the ancestors break it down, have broken it down to me, because we just have discussions sometimes. When I'm reading stuff, I instantly start asking my ancestors questions and my guardian angel questions. Well, why is it like this? And they'll start elaborating and talking to you. Your audience is going to come in. That's why it's good to start keeping your mouth shut when you start your practice, because again, you'll be able to start listening to what's going on in your mind, and how your mind is working, and if there is spirit talking to you. But if you always talking and you always looking at stuff, and you ain't sitting down nowhere and being quiet, you're gonna miss messages. Okay. Yes, that tripped me out. I was like, I don't know if I can do that, because and the star that they have. Did you see that sigil that they have for that star? Because it's like this star that goes out in all different directions. You know, that's how they magic work. I'm just like, this is. I didn't know what to think of that. I still don't know what to think about that. They're still at the core of it. I really didn't care about that, because it still looked like Hoodoo. Because I was like, this still look like Hoodoo. I don't care what they doing here. This look like Hoodoo. They calling it chaos magic. They calling it something else. And what I do find extraordinary too is when we go over a lot of our lectures and looking at folk magic, and this is how wonderful Hoodoo is. I can't find, it's not many writers that can talk about folk magic without talking about Hoodoo conjure. It's not a book that I've picked up where they don't refer back to Hoodoo conjure. They don't. They always refer back to Hoodoo conjure when they're talking about folk magic or their magic. And that has to tell you something, how powerful your magic is, how they set the stage and the science for doing this type of magic. Okay, so it is yours. Everyone has to go back and look at your stuff, look at your ancestor stuff, and say, oh, look at the African American. They has had this folk magic in this work. They have used this and this and this and this and that. And we have used, and they are using some of our stuff in their folk magic. But I can't blame them, because again, we use what works. And so there is a variety of different flavors in Hoodoo. You got European folk magic. You can go on and on. I just named that for you. And so to understand more about their magic, folk magic, a lot of them look at our magic. Okay. That's what, and I'm very impressed when I see them bring up our magic in their books. Even in a lot of occult books, to understand it, a lot of them they have to explain. When they're working with spirits, they have to again go back to voodoo. They have to go back, uh, yeah, they have to go back to voodoo to understand working with spirits. Because in our traditions, this seems to be our our staple for us. We're open to possession by our ancestors, and through a lot of these deities. That's some of the things that they can't do, or they're afraid to do. But in our culture, we welcome that. That is how we tap into our power. We begin to embody our ancestors. We don't mind. We're open. We're more open to possession because of this connection we have with our ancestors and these ancestral spirits. And so, for them to understand possession, or to understand how to um, invoke a spirit, or how a spirit operates within the body, they have to study our stuff. Okay. And so it's just, it's fascinating once you get into this and you start learning this, um, and knowing more about your ancestors and reading more about the occult in yourself. It really will empower you in your work. I promise you. If you understand more about your work and how it works, it's going to empower you. It says, I'm definitely a geek for the occult. I think I am too. Because I read that and start, putting things together in my mind. I've gained so much knowledge. And what the ancestors told me too, masters of potions. Because I was just like, this occult, I was just saying occult, occult, occult. And ancestors said, we don't call it that. We call it mysteries. They call it occult, but we call it the mysteries. Because, ma'am, can you please call it the mysteries? Because this is my story. It is your story. It is your connection with the with the because the occult is only telling their story with these energies. So once you start messing with, go into these secret sciences, our ancestor said it becomes your story. It is my story, mystery. I hope that made sense. They say it's a mystery. That's why you'll see them among the African diaspora. They don't call it the occult. They call it the mysteries, because everybody have their own experience with these different spirits. Okay, you see that through the prophets too. They have their own story of communicating with God. Okay, so it is. I think that's the appropriate word. The mysteries. You asked me. Occult is the most. Um, it's the most blasphemous word to use because they're trying to hide it. But really, it's a mystery. It's your story. It is your story with the divine. It is your spiritual experience with the divine that again reveals secrets of spirit with you. So yeah, it is more of a mystery. I agree with that. It sure does. It uses everything. Get condensed chaos by Phil Hine. Is that the book I got? I think I don't know that name sound familiar. I used to see visions and have dreams of owls for a while. I finally went to a meeting and found out it was my dad speaking to me. Yes. Okay, so y'all, if you haven't checked that out, you guys go check out Chaos Magic. Look that up for yourself, and you tell me what it is, because it look like it's something that's hoodoo that they done gave another name for. And they always put these names on here that you would never think, like Bobby Hemmett said, they name these books names that you would never think to open it up. You would just, no, ain't nothing in there for me. And that has happened to me on several occasions, and the ancestors be like, nah, you need to open that book up. I'm just like, what? Open it up and look in there. I know it seemed like that title make it seem like it ain't got nothing to do with you, but it's got everything to do with you. And I open up that book and it's got everything to do with me. And I'm like, oh my God, why does it have this name on there? Why is this name there? And I think they do that to throw us off, to make us not want to open the book and look at it, you know. But you'd be surprised what's in some of these books when you open them up. And I know a lot of people say you shouldn't study. You need it does you good to study the mysteries or the occult if you're going to understand that Bible. Okay, you understand the mysteries in that Bible when you start to look at the occult. You'll start putting things together. It will certainly help you. I mean, I became, that's the first thing we cover in there. We cover a variety of books. Saint Cyprian. Um, we cover Agrippa, John D, just like I said, it's just a variety of them that we covered that became big occultists in the Western world. But in doing this, when I'm breaking this down, I take you right back to ancient Kemet because they got all that from ancient Kemet and they watered it down. Every time they write a book, they telling you where they got it from. They got it from your ancestors. Every time. I even show you when the connection that hoodoo has a lot of elements that was used in ancient Kemet, especially when it comes to that hydrotherapy and spiritual baths. It goes right back there. It goes every time. I take you right back there and show you that. Okay, so I show you your ancestors. I even take you in that Bible. We just got through talking about Judith. Okay, they got you thinking that Judith was just just a woman, but really it was a high honorary divine feminine title. They had to mention her in that Bible. In fact, Judith is the one that had a lot of that sacred knowledge they needed to complete their Bible. She knew that though. Okay, she tried to, we had if you haven't seen my video on that, go watch my video on that. I break that all the way down for you. I don't want to get off topic. Okay, so again, when you're looking at your natal chart and you don't know what to do with it or whatever, keep in mind that you came here with the root work that you needed to do. It's in your natal chart. Okay, if you need to broken down, you have two choices to go that way. You can either use Vedic astrology. If you're going to use Western astrology, because I do use Western astrology, but I've been looking closer at Vedic astrology. But I'm so used to Western astrology, but I'm definitely looking at Vedic astrology more closely now. But when I use the Western astrology, I'm going to take that natal chart and I'm going to break it all the way down and show you everything in it, everything that you should be doing based on what's happening right now on the astrological forecast as for right now, what you need to be doing. And I'm going to give it back to you with all the root work, all the things, all the magic that you should be working on. All that is going to be in that spiritual blueprint when I give it back to you. I mean the same thing that they do in the with Vedic astrology. Okay? So based on that, you'll know what to do. And what does this do? Again, it's put you in alignment. It's going to give you more liberation. Okay? You're not going to be confused about what work you need to be doing and guessing what you need to be doing because it's right there in your hand. You came here with the magic that you're supposed to do, with the work, the things that you're supposed to be working on. You're not confused no more. Now right now you probably got your natal chart and you're just looking at it and trying to figure out where the hell do I go with this? What does this mean? How can I use this? Let me show you. Let me show you. Let me show you how you use it. Make it simple for you because I'm gonna break it down so simple for you and give it right back to you. All you gotta do is start working from what you got. Okay, I like it because it gives you a head start, especially if you're just starting hoodoo and you don't know where you're going, you don't know where you're at, you don't know what's going on right now. That is a good thing to start from and start from there doing your healing work. You know what you ought to be doing. You got something to work from, an itinerary. Okay, you have something to work from and stay consistent with. And so I like it because it gives you direct instructions. You ain't got to be running around figuring out what you're gonna do. All you got to do now is start communicating with your ancestors and ask them how they want you to get started on that. Okay, where they want you to start first, or how they want you to do it. Because I'm still gonna recommend you talk to your ancestors, even if I give it to you. Nothing comes before the ancestors. Okay. All right. I think I'm losing my TikTok people. Okay, nothing comes before the ancestors. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can DM me. Let me put my email address in here. But that is what we covered about astrology over there. And if you're interested in knowing more about astrology, a really good breakdown, because we go in and you really want to know how do you use it in your workings. And you want to again just refine your workings and give it more of a oomph and intensify it. I would say, look into lining up your magic with the stars and planetary hours. I would say do that. Get you an almanac. Okay. If you're interested in knowing more about that, we just dropped a lot of lectures over there. I think we've got about 3 or 4 lectures on that over there. Um, you can get over there and listen to those lectures. And the lectures are available in the Ritual Conjure and the Know Thyself memberships. So you'll have to get at least the Ritual membership to be able to listen to the lectures. But if you get the occult membership, you'll just get the books, you won't get the lecture. Okay? So again, I think it's very helpful for you to know the variety of energies that you can work with to get your work done. And we definitely cover it over there. We give you options. We know it's one way, it's more than one way to get the work done. Hoodoo is all about creativity and what you got you can put together to create magic. You don't have to go out here and go buy no fancy herbs and all that other stuff. Sometimes, usually, what you got in your kitchen in your mind is enough to get your work done. All these fancy stuff you think you got to go buy, you really don't. You just got to know what you're doing. Have your mouth, your mind together, and a few items in your kitchen, and you can get some stuff going. That's what our ancestors did. They didn't have nothing fancy, honey. Sometimes they had nothing but a paper and a pen, but they moved some stuff with a paper and a pen. Sometimes they didn't have nothing but a bag. Okay? But they moved some stuff with a bag and they knew the time when to do stuff and they got it done. The same thing with you. Okay? Same thing I recommend, for either you. And I don't when you get over there, I don't even recommend that you start doing a lot of that. The most thing that you need to be doing is getting your mind and your energy and stuff prepared for magic so you can see the results you want. Did anyone have any questions, any more insight? I'm here from TikTok. Hey, Ebony Love. I guess I'm messing up on TikTok. Mind your chaos magic was said to start in the 70s in the UK. It's not even old, if alive. I've watched a few chaos magic witches on here speak on it. Yeah, when I was doing, yeah, that's where the man that invented it was Phil Hine. He was in the occult, and he got tired. If I'm getting the story right, let me know, Master Potions. Uh, he got tired of all that jargon stuff in the occult, all the rigmarole, intellectualizing. And he said he was gonna tap into that. So he created his own little magic or whatever called chaos magic. And I mean, it just tore up the occult community because they was like, how dare he? How dare he come do this? Wah 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 wah. But he did it. Uh, was he Irish? Was he Irish? I want to say that he was Irish. Am I remembering that wrong? I don't know why I want to say he was Irish. But anyway, he goes on and he creates his own little group or whatever, and they go on to create chaos magic. But I tell you, just like Master Potion said, it sounds just like it sounds like hoodoo. It looks like hoodoo. It feels like hoodoo when you're looking at it. And I said, this look like hoodoo. They didn't make this up. This man went out and started looking at folk magic and decided to use folk magic in the occult. And now he calling it something else. I guess to make it still look like high magic because the occultists, they practice a form of high magic. What is high magic? High magic is more ceremonial. Okay. They're going to deal with, we have to read it because they call themselves magicians. They are not really just spiritual workers. They are really practicing magic out of experimentation. When you start reading these occult books, it's more out of experimentation and having these big goals for the things they do. Ceremonial magic is mostly it's going to be big. People have to have you have to have a whole room set up for ceremonial magic. And you'll see that sometime. I've seen that sometime a little bit in hoodoo. They'll have all these sigils and they'll have all these elemental tablets and stuff in this room. It almost looked like, and I'm gonna tell you, it's a guy on TikTok. I can't remember his name, but I had to ask him one day when he was doing a video on here. I said, "Isn't that a lodge room that you're sitting up doing a video in? It looked just like a Masonic lodge." He has his room set up like, I forgot his name on here on TikTok, but he has his room set up like a Masonic lodge. They will have rooms like that where they do ceremonies at. And again, everything will be associated with magic. They will have a wand, they will have a chalice, they will have a blade. Everything is going to be, again, magical. The tablets and everything. That's how they do theirs. It's very um, structured. Okay, ceremonial magic is very structured, and it takes a lot of energy to perform ceremonial magic. Okay, so that's more of high magic. Low magic is more like folk magic. Okay, sympathetic magic. That is more like low magic. The ceremonial magic is on a bigger scale, and it seems to have more effect when it's done in groups. So a lot of people, the occult, they practice ceremonial magic where they get together and they perform ceremonial magic, which is high magic. Correct me if I'm wrong. Austin Osman Spears was his name, but you are right. Okay, okay. So that is high magic, and looking at hoodoo too. I can just go on and on and talk about this. Lord, y'all gonna get tired of me. But there is, and I have to stop there because there is a little bit of high magic in hoodoo when you start looking at Solomonic magic and you looking at the books of Moses. The way that we use the sigils and the seals, there is a little high magic in there. And then I know some hoodoo practitioners that that uh, approach their magic like high magic. They got a whole room set up. They got a whole room set up with, you know, that just works with nothing but magic. They got a whole room set up. You'd be surprised what you find in there. They got a whole table set up to an archangel. They're working with this archangel. They got sigils of this archangels. They got seals of this archangel. They got the plaques on the wall. They got a big old, they might have a big old altar tablecloth with the big seal on there. They done had a seal printed out on there because this again they're calling in these energies in here, and that energy is specifically for that room. You can take this thing as high as you want to go now, baby. The sky's, I'm telling you, it's limitless with this hoodoo thing. Okay, it ain't just limited to the Psalms and the Bible and candle work. It's not just limited to that. And that's why, I like to present it in a way that gives you options where you can choose directions in how you want to go about doing your work. And you should be given options there because it's more than one way to do the work. It just is. Okay. I can't help it. It's all about creativity and really sitting down on how you want to address whatever issue you got going on. If you goof chaos, this is what AI says. You Google chaos. This is what AI say. What it say? He said if you Google chaos magic, this is what AI says. Honey, it looked like uh chaos magic looked like hoodoo to me. I started to do a lecture on it in my group, but I didn't think the community would be ready to have that type of discussion because I didn't know who was new, how new, if there was many new beginners in there because I don't want to be having a discussion with nobody who don't understand a damn thing I'm saying. you know. And I know I can, because I've been studying this so long, so I can take people off and they can be like, I don't even know what she's talking about. I just know this, and that. But it's nice to have a conversation with Master Potion, who's very seem to be very informed when it comes to this, because not many people that can hold this type of conversation and talk about this topic like this. Chaos magic is postmodern, results oriented practice of magic that uses belief as tools for manifestation, encouragement, experimentation, and flexibility to achieve specific desires. Sound like hoodoo to me. Practice of magic that uses beliefs as a tool for manifestation, encouraging experimentation, and especially on that last part, flexibility to achieve specific desires. It sounds it smell like hoodoo, look like hoodoo. I bet it walk like hoodoo too. Okay, they ain't fooling me because they named it chaos magic. And I'd never opened up that book, because that has come to me. I had maybe like 3 or 4 people come to me, was like, you need to get into chaos magic. And I was like, no, I don't need to get into that. I don't, what the hell is that? I don't want to do that. And then it came across me again, somebody about chaos magic. I was like, why did people bring that up to me? What is that? I don't want to do that. Then I came across it again when I was doing the lecture. And I said, ancestors, I do not want to look at it. I said, you need to open this up. This has been mentioned you 2 or 3 times, but you never looked at it. You need to open this up. And I looked at it. I was like, oh my God, what are they doing with this? You're the best at this. Never heard a breakdown like yours. Thank you, TJ Ward. Thank you, TJ Ward. Okay. So when I saw that, I was just like, they're stealing again, and their name is something else. At least they had the decency to say it came from shamanism, which when we go back to shamanism, he's letting you know it's going back to the most oldest ancient spiritual practices ever, because all of them come from shamanism. That's why we talk about shamanism and hoodoo. And when you start to look at hoodoo, you start seeing a heavy shamanic characteristic when you start looking at animism and you start looking at the ancestors. That is a shamanic practice right there. Okay, so, and I've never heard anyone talking about that either. Animism, they talk about these herbs and stuff, but these herbs are alive, you guys. These are nature spirits. These are spirits in these plants. There are spirits in the water. There are spirits in the fire. Our ancestors understood this. That's why they prayed over it. Okay, you got a lot of these trees that'll sit there and tell you they knew your ancestors. They've been working with your ancestors. You got a lot of these trees that tell you they are your ancestors. They are your elder brothers and sisters. Now you can look at it like that, if you can keep thinking that these ain't nothing but some grass and leaves and stuff if you want to. You cheating yourself of a spiritual ally when you doing that. Because our ancestors didn't look at it like that. They looked at everything is alive. I have to tell people that over there in Hoodoo, everything is alive. Everything you picking up is alive. Okay? You need to understand that. And when you approaching that altar, you're not approaching it by yourself. You got the water spirits with you. You got the fire spirit with you. You got the again air spirits with you that conjure your voice. You got all these energies with you that's making the magic work. And then you go in and you add some more energy to it. You adding the moon, the energies of the moon with it. Oh, we can go in with another layer. We can add some planetary energies to it. You're not doing nothing. When you understand this, you're doing nothing but amplifying your magic. You're understanding it now. Okay? I hope this makes sense. Only limit is your mind is in hoodoo. I'm telling you, honey, I have did some work in here to think I could do it. They be like, go get that rice over there. I didn't even know if I can work with rice like that. Go get that rice over there. You ain't got this, but you got that rice. Go get that rice. We're gonna show you what to do with that rice and how to do that work with that rice. You just peas. You got black eyed peas in there. That show you how to work. I'm telling you, there is no limits to this. And it ain't gonna look like nobody else's stuff because it's your own creativity. Magic is about creativity. How you put things together as well when you understand these things. Sorry, I wrote the sentence in reverse. That's okay. That's okay, Master of a Potion. Okay. It's about create. It ain't supposed to look like nobody else's. That's their creativity. That's why you see a lot of people that artists. Their art don't look the same. They got their own niche in their art. That's how your magic should look. That is your art. Okay, you learn how to work with these elements. You've learned how to put them together. You've learned your art. And that's why you have a lot of practitioners, they will not share their work because that's their art. They had to work hard on creating that. I hope this making sense to you, to a lot of you. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Because I can just go on and talk and talk and talk and talk until I'm blue in the face. And I know this is, I hate when ancestors do me like this. Ancestors, why do I have to be the only one, be looking crazy out here talking about stuff that ain't nobody talking about? And people think, some people may be looking at me, they put back what I'm saying because nobody's talking about it. But these are important things though, you guys. They really are. Okay? They really are important and things that you really should consider before you jump into hoodoo. And the most important thing, and I got to keep this in front of you, beloved. You gonna be talking to some ancestors. You're gonna be talking to a spirit. Don't be afraid because guess what? You are a spirit. You've been fooled. You're not that body. You're not. You're not what you call human at all. You're a spirit. The human ain't nothing but a suit, a sleeve that the spirit moves around in. That's all that is. It's a costume. It's a put on. Okay. You're a spirit. So let's like get that out your mind. If you scared of a spirit, you are a spirit. You're nothing but consciousness. And spirit is nothing but consciousness. And if your mind is together and you clear some things out, you can have a beautiful relationships and conversations with these spirits and learn so many things. I used to get confused hearing the title, but then something drew me in too. And I took a look and was like, this is hoodoo. I did the same thing, Masters of Oceans. I did the same thing. I looked at that and said, this ain't hoodoo, this hoodoo all day long. I don't care what they calling this. This is hoodoo. And I do that with the same with their cult practice. I don't care where y'all got it from. Y'all still got it from the ancient matriarchs. I don't care where they come from or how these patriarchs break this stuff down and they talking about man. I don't care where you still got it from our great mothers. So let's just cut it out. Y'all still putting on them aprons with the M in front of it to represent the divine feminine. You have to wear that to tap into that magic because that magic started with session. And you see them doing the measuring the cord and all that stuff that came from session. She would have been the foundation for these occult lodges. That's coming from the divine feminine. They had to water it down and apply it to themselves. And y'all still doing it. That's why you have to put that apron on with that M in front of it. You say it's for Mason, but Ma is from a Mason. My sons. Yeah. My sons. Ma. You still got that from the divine feminine. You can't take that out of there. Free my son. Free my sons. He's trying to free himself, but you're doing it the wrong way because ain't a woman in sight in there and you're doing a whole bunch of phallic worship. I just broke that down. Okay, I just read it. Okay. You still doing my sons. And that stuff belonged to the daughters. But you can't have that without her. You can't. I'm just sorry you can't. And I break that all the way down for you in our lectures. I do it in honey. I break it all the way down. I'm surgical with this thing. You understand me? Because I want to thoroughly understand. Okay, so I try to break it down the way where you can understand in the way the ancestors have broken it down to me. You're not gonna be confused. That I don't want you to be. And if you is confused, honey, we gonna get a lecture or something together or some type of review together to get you going. We ain't gonna have you confused. Okay. I tell them all the time in that community, let me know if it's a book or lecture, something you confused about, DM me and we'll schedule a whole group lecture and discussion on it. See, I'm not gonna leave you out there blind just guessing. Okay? It ain't gonna do me no good for you to do a spell that my ancestors showed me in the way I should do it. They probably want me working with fire magic. Your ancestors probably want you working with water magic. They probably don't want you working with fire magic. That probably ain't your thing. That's probably not your energy frequency or your signature. They probably want you working with something different. Here I am showing you something my ancestors showed me and wanted for me, and now I'm passing. Maybe that, and then you find sometime it work for some people, sometime it don't. And then when it don't work for people, people running what's going on with them. Maybe it's so many ways to pry that situation and pin it down. Maybe your ancestors don't want that for you. Did your ancestors tell you to do that? Did they show you how to do that? Just because they showed you, you saw that, did you ask your ancestors, hey, I want to do this magic spell? Is this the way you want me to do it? They might say, yeah, you can do it, but we don't want you to use this. We want you to use that. We want you to do it this way, not that way. They have their own reasons and way they want you to do stuff. And believe me, when they tell you to do it, it works every time. I haven't experienced a time the ancestors have moved me to do some work and led me to do some work and put things together that it didn't work. It worked when they teach you to do it and show you how to do it. It works. Okay, ancestors definitely led me your way. All right, you don't look crazy. You are extremely well rounded. Thank you, Master Potions. Okay. And so, and when they show you it's gonna work, because them spirits can see things you can't see. Don't be trusting these people. You honey, when you start following spirit, you start trusting people less and start trusting spirit more. That's what you're gonna have to do, beloved. You got to stop looking at people because they'll fool you. People be lying, okay? You gonna have to be following these spirits and stop trusting these and stop following these people because that's the first thing I'm gonna get you doing to following your ancestors. Did you ask your ancestors? Don't ask me what you should do. You're not gonna get me in trouble with your ancestors. You're not gonna do it. I'm not gonna get in trouble with them. I'm gonna you gonna send you straight to your ancestors because you done learn how to do divination. Uh we just did our divination workshop yesterday. I showed you divination. You know how to talk to your ancestors. If you can't hear them in your mind, get your divination going. I've showed you how to use a pendulum. I've showed you do the get ask them. Don't go out there raggedy like that in them spiritual streets. Ask them. Is it clear to cross these streets? Do I got permission? Ask them. Okay, it's the first thing I'm gonna get you to do. You following your ancestors. Don't even follow me. Ask your ancestors. Did I say the right thing? Go and do a divination on what I just said and ask your ancestors, is that the right thing to do? Because I want to get you following the spirit. We got too many following people. Okay. My mission is to get because hoodoo is ancestor centered. It's all about following your ancestors. I had to tell that boy that the other day, honey. He got in my box over here. Got in my DM over there in TikTok. I guess I don't know if they procuring people on TikTok, these some of these ATRs or whatever. Behind the boy, the man, the so-called Babaloo got in my box and he said, is why you ain't in EFA or something like that. I said, sir, I'm not interested in the religion. I practice hoodoo. I'm in an ATR. You don't know about Ifa and Orisha. I know absolutely about the Orisha, Ifa, in that I would be completely ignoring my ancestors if I didn't know my ancestors' story and where they were. That would be irresponsible. Yeah, I know about the ATRs. And he goes on to say, he said, ancestors definitely led me to you. Amen. Damn, you just snatched my breath. So I say definitely I do know about the Orishas. I know about the ATRs. I think they're very, very beautiful, but I'm not interested in the religion. I'm very happy over here at Hoodoo. And he got the going on and I said, hey, he's like, who your godparents? I said, hey, sir, I follow the guidance of my ancestors. And they've been very good to me. So I don't need nothing else. Hoodoo is enough. And he left me alone. And see, they know that because they shouldn't be jumping in your box if they're not offering you any prayer, anything. These babalos need to be jumping in your box, offering you prayer, not initiation, or offering you some type of reading, okay, or coming to you with some type of ancestor message. That's their job, not to be jumping in your box trying to initiate you, not any of that. Their job is to either pray for you, because sometimes they can pray for you and shift your life, and then you go back to them. Now you want to read because their prayer then change your damn. Believe me, a real Babaloo, they got a strong foundation, or a priestess, the priest or the priestess, they can pray for you, and it's better than any spell that you could ever do because of the prayers they have access to. The ones that I've seen too, they have some prayers that, boy, I ain't never experienced nothing like that before. Okay? So they're either gonna pray for you, and it's gonna make you come back to get. You'll probably want to go back and do a do. It's gonna make you want to do a do because the prayers that it did for you didn't help your life. That's the real and they the truth. That's the real Babylon. Most of them gonna get, and they know the ones that know who they are. They ain't got to ask you. They can get in your box and ask to pray for you. After they get for praying for you, you're gonna be reaching out to them because they know what they doing. Okay, them the truth. They ain't gonna be asking, soliciting to you, or trying to get you to eat or not. The main thing they gonna be trying to do is get you right with your ancestors. Now, them the truth. Them are the truth. They ain't gonna try to get you with nothing. They're gonna be talking to you. Especially if you're in an ancestral veneration, they're gonna be trying to get you right with that. Okay, they're not gonna be trying to get you initiated into Ifa. They don't do that. Okay, so that's another way you can tell that something is not right there. If they're not offering prayer for you, if they're not offering an ado for you, you know, then don't go for it because they should not be trying to initiate you because your ancestors are that for that. Okay, they are there for that. They'll lead you if you need to be initiated. They'll lead you to that. If they want you to work with the Orisha, they'll line that up too. I've seen that over there in Hoodoo. They say we can't work with the Orisha, but some of these Loas and Orishas be pulling up on you in Hoodoo. I ain't making this up. It happens. They will pull up on you. Your ancestors will have these deities pulling up on you, and you be like, "What the world?" Okay, it happens. Not gonna say it ain't gonna happen. Why wouldn't it happen if it's already in your bloodline and your ancestors already had a relationship with some of these deities? Why wouldn't these deities be pulling up on you? I think religion, they kind of keep that out when you're talking about these the same ancestors, y'all. Just because they not there where y'all, it don't mean that they still ain't the same ancestors. Okay, it don't mean that they're not gonna go show their kin how to work with these different deities, and they will. They'll show you how to work with different. If they want that for you, they'll line that up for you. You'll start seeing that deity come up in your dreams and stuff. You'll start having synchronicities and stuff. I've seen it. I've experienced it. And I know they telling you, oh, you have to be initiated. You have to be. Now you have to be right with your ancestors. That's what you have to be. That's the only thing you need. You get talking to your ancestors, they'll get to introducing you to other spirits because they know the language of spirit. They can set things up for you. Okay? That's why it's not good to be reaching out to any of them or any of these deities if you ain't got your ancestral veneration together. Okay? That's the most important thing. But they tell you that you can't do this. But honey, when you start working with the ancestors, there's no limits to the ancestors. And when you tell them that, they kind of leave you alone because they know that. Because they wouldn't have their practice without the ancestors. So when you mention the ancestors, and you follow the ancestors, they kind of got to get away from you, or they got that knowledge yet because that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing in Ifa. That's what they're doing in Lukumi. That's what they're doing in Palo. That's what they're doing. All of us are following our ancestors. You can talk about the Orishas all you want to, and yeah, they're very important. But we wouldn't have contact with the Orishas without the ancestors. That's the first thing you got to venerate and acknowledge. in their spiritual practice is the ancestors. So I don't know why they keep. I don't know why it's not being talked about enough. It need to be talked about instead of talking about the Orishas and all of that stuff. We need to be talking about how the ancestors prepare you to go into those ATRs if they want you to be in there. Because believe me, your ancestors have to give you the guidance to go in there. You just don't go in there because that's what you want, because you want a title and you want to feel important. And like what the ancestors have told to me, these people that got these titles and stuff, believe me, they're not ranking like that in the spiritual realm. They don't see them like that. They don't. They may be the president of the United States here on earth, and you get over there, they a servant boy in the spirit world. You don't carry that ranking with you. What you carry with the work, the spiritual work and stuff that you do here, that's the ranking that you get over there. You high ranking over there when you're actually putting in the spiritual ranking. You may not rank where you got ordinary people running around here. You think they ain't nothing. But in the spirit realm, they ranking high. They up there with the presidents and governors and all that stuff. I'm telling you now, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Don't let these eyes. This is fake. This ain't nothing but reflections of light, an illusion. What you're looking at now. This is not real. Don't let these people fool you. That's why you need to be following the spirit and not no people. Okay. All right. Does anyone have questions with me? Because I just keep on talking. I don't want to keep, I just keep on talking. But again, follow your ancestors. Stop following these people. What your ancestors tell you to do. You won't be confused. You won't be following, being lovers of people. You need to be lovers of your ancestors. That's what you need to be. That's what we need to be, honey. Love them, honey, because they protecting you in ways you can't even imagine. Okay, you can't even imagine it. Okay. Anyone have any questions for me? No questions? Anything to add here? 'Cause I just keep on talking. This is my thing. Okay. All right. So if you have any questions or if you're interested in our community over there on Patreon, our Spiritual Roots Hoodoo community, we're going to have a very exciting. I can't wait. I can't wait to Hoodoo Heritage Month because I'm going to be dropping so much tea in there. I mean, I have me and the ancestors have really sat down and focused on every lecture and how we are, because I like to put thought into things. And so I cannot wait. It's going to be a fabulous month. We're going to be diving deep into hoodoo, and this time I'm going to be doing hoodoo. Now it's time to do it. Stop talking about it and start and come up to the plate and start putting this stuff into action. So that's what we're going to be focused on Hoodoo Heritage Month, because you're going to have too much information not to be trying to get your practice going. Okay. So if you're interested in that, get over there. We would love to have you in our community. If you think you can add some insight or anything like that, hey, we want you over there in that community. Okay. And just happy to have you, happy to grow with you, happy to learn with you and just work with you collectively. Okay. You guys take care. Thank you, TikTok family. You guys, love you guys. Okay, YouTube family. If you are interested, like I said, you have all my information. If you're interested in our community, subscribe to this YouTube channel, because I'll constantly be keep coming here and giving you updates about what's going on in our community. Give you a general discussion about different topics, because we address different topics in here. Next month we're going to have some really good topics. We're going to talk about water magic. We're going to talk about fire magic. We're going to talk about earth magic. We're going to talk about all those magic. So all the zodiac water signs, the fire signs, the earth signs. Y'all, you probably want to be here next month, because we're going to really be tapping into that. And it gives you options into how these elements work, and give you an option too on how to do your magic, especially if you got a lot of water placements, a lot of fire placements, earth placements, air placements. You'll learn some unique and maybe learn how you can do magic, a different way to do your magic. Okay? You guys take care. Love you. I'll see you next time.